So Emma, just kind of moving on to the next question because it ties into a lot of what you were talking about as well. Kind of seeing or speaking to how you see the world from your perspective, what life is like as an evaluator. And especially, and here's the key piece, because I'm assuming that we may have a few evaluators that are here watching. And if you are an evaluator that is watching and is here too, if there's anything that you would like to share or add, we would love to hear from you also. But the key piece is, how can other types understand the evaluator better? So that we can, because again, it's an anomaly. There's only 1% of the population. And I think oftentimes, we can misinterpret what the evaluator is all about. And so how can we, who are not evaluators, really help to both support you and work with you? And we have also probably a lot of people who are BG5 consultants. You already talked about this a little bit, but how can we, if we have clients who are evaluators, how can we assist them or help them through the process? I know that's a lot of questions all tied into one, but ultimately, how can we who are not evaluators, how can we understand the evaluators better?
Mm-hmm. The key to the whole thing. Well, not to be facetious or dismissive, but in a way you can't, right? Because we are open in every center or every function, and you are not, each one of you will naturally have certain blind spots, right? So you will never fully see an evaluator. It's literally not possible through your design. So in a way, we're always going to remain a bit unknown. On a pragmatic level, how you can help an evaluator, I personally, and I think the others would agree with this, I have found that I don't care who I am with as far as a design. I don't have a preferred design that I like to be around. To me, it is all about how true that person is being to their design. So if you want to make things easier for an evaluator, learn to be yourself. Learn to operate from your design in a healthy way, deal with your conditioning, because then the evaluator doesn't have to reflect that back to you.
Wow.
That's the most important thing. Get healthy in yourself, and they will automatically become healthier or present a very powerful image. And it's easier for them. It's like we pick up, like if it were a radio, picking up all the radio waves, we also pick up all the static. So the more clearly you can tune yourself, the less distortion and static we have to deal with, and it makes our life easier. So
yeah, beautifully said, Emma. Wow, that's very powerful, very profound. Yeah, thank you. Connor, how about for you in answering that same question? Thank you so much, Emma. So really, how can other types help understand evaluator, or speaking, what is it like to be an evaluator from your perspective as well?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for Emma. I love hearing from my compadres here. So much wisdom at different times of life. For me, Emma was really laser in the messaging to other types, and Ra, in one of Ra's early recordings about our type, this was, I think I must have heard it 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and he basically said, evaluators, reflectors are waiting for the world to give them something different to reflect. And that is true. Our challenge is having to wade through the morass of the soup of everyone. And it's not to demean everyone else. It's just to say that we recognize that what our gift and contribution is in this collective web of life here is the individual the type in whatever group we're in, we're seeing a more refined, a larger picture of where things are, and we are we're pointing the way. In other words, saying, look in that direction. And if people around us are healthy or give us a platform for our wisdom, we're here for the downloads of wisdom. And given half a chance, that's really what will come through us. If the environment we're in is unhealthy or in the morass of everything, then that's what we have to work with to point to the people around us in their assessment. So for example, in the times we're in now, in the circles I travel, I sometimes send out, and it's not that I spend all my time doing that, but I will send out information or writings or a quick video on very different worldviews, and all these opinions about what's going on, not because I think they're all spot on. It's my way of getting people to wake up, think for themselves, and begin to go into that place of knowing that we all have. And so I concur with what Emma was saying, that when each of us learns the mechanics of the vehicle we're each riding around in. So if I know I'm driving around a VW wraparound bus, and I've spent my life trying to figure out how to get on the Indy 500 track, I've missed everything that was there for me to see and experience and contribute to. By the same token, if I'm designed to go Mach 5 with my hair on fire and whiz around that Indy 500, which has nothing to do with the detail and, smell the roses, and my buddy loves to off-road, and now I'm taking my Maserati or whatever it is, and I'm going off-road, I'm going to miss what I'm here for to see and to participate in, and then in that process, I'm going to not only trash myself, but I'm going to trash the environment. And that's pretty much just building on what Emma was saying, that until we really learn the vehicle we're here to ride around in, participate, and see life through, and then radiate out the finest expression of that, the most refined. It's not about being what our minds fantasize we're supposed to be. It's about discovering who we are, and to let life flow through us at a really magnified, refined, exquisite, beautiful, awesome way. Then we're just like crashing through a forest with a machete, and we're not aware of all the damage we're doing to ourselves and everyone around us. So that image that BG5 uses in particular about learning the instrument that life gave you to play, and you have to practice that instrument before any of us, and we're all having to do that. We have to practice this instrument so that at some point, life is just playing this exquisite music through us. We can sit down and it's just a fluid language, and then people can come jam and play music with us, and it's not a scripted thing. It's made in the moment because we're sensitive, make room for each other, can attune to the same frequency. And that's also, part of just addressing the language for me as a participant in the BG5 is the imagery that I get to play with in talking about it or expressing to others. The instrument to play is the BG5, which I adore, having been a group facilitator of drum circles starting in the 80s. I don't do them anymore, but how do we enter in and make music together as ourselves in the moment? It's totally dependent on the instruments we play. And the last thing I'll say is I concur with Emma that when we are in a really refined or a high frequency environment, just our presence alone, not because we're high and mighty and more special and, you know, to be followed or a guru, but the gift of our presence is that we do elevate the frequency. And we're like the bubbly champagne in the room. We're like the aha moments. We have a way of letting the whole soup and the flavors, you know, all come out together, so that whatever meal we're eating, whatever meeting we're in, whatever whatever the group dynamic is, if it's healthy, if it's on fire, if it's functional, if it's on a mission, if it's going forward, our presence alone will allow the genius of everyone involved to elevate at a level, even if we say nothing.
Beautiful, Connor. So rich. And I love all of the analogies that you shared as well. Thank you so much. And let's go to Brad. And we have actually a couple questions too that I want to also tie into the discussion as well. So one of the questions is, hold on, let me find it again. Can you talk more about your experience, how your experience evolved for you in getting in the right environment? So especially as an evaluator, how do you figure out what is the right environment for you?
By paying attention, by being aware, and by literally, I'm going to repeat myself, you literally have to be aware of what's going on in your surroundings. You literally have to be aware of what you're reflecting. You have to recognize that you're evaluating, you're reflecting. We do that all of the time. And when something isn't working for you, you have to have the courage to move on, whatever that is, whether that's a relationship, or that's a job, or that's a location where you're living. You really have to. There's no, well, let me say this again. For those who are conditioned, or those who live in the not self, they'll just continue to operate in that mode wherever they are. But you really, really have to be aware. And it's interesting to me that in design we have 3 awareness functions, but most people don't operate from them very well. And we as evaluators, you have to be aware. You literally have to be awake. You have to be, what am I experiencing? And if it's not working for you, you have to find that courage to do whatever you need to do for you. And unfortunately, that's not what we're taught. We're taught that we're to do for everybody else and put our own stuff behind us. And that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And so I would say for evaluators that are listening and you're struggling with some aspect of your life, become aware of what that struggle is, and then work at stepping into the truth of who you are, and find what you have to do. Find that courage to make the choices and decisions that you have to make for you, not for the rest of the world. And I want to also add to what Emma and Connor said, is that I've heard a lot over the last 3 years since I've been with HD and BG5 is people wanting to understand us. And again, not being disrespectful, but you can't. But when you look at us, you're seeing yourself. So Emma was spot on when she said the best thing you can do is learn how to operate at your highest level. And when you look at us, that's what you're going to see. But if you're operating at anything less than the highest level of you, you look at us and you see something that's missing. What's missing is missing in you, not us. And again, for the evaluator, we have to be aware that that's what we are reflecting. That's not us. And if we're saying, well, what's wrong with me, which I did for a whole bunch of my life because I wasn't aware, is you literally have to recognize it has nothing to do with me. And it's all about the other person and what they're seeing about themselves. And so if you want to understand us, learn to understand yourself.
Beautifully said, Brad. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And there's another question here too, and we'll go to Carolina if you want to tie this into what you have to share. But Lisa says, I find it difficult still, even after finding out how different I am, to be grouped in one category without addressing the individual trait or gait activations. And I think Connor spoke to this at the beginning as well, that, even though you are only 1% of the population, you are still very unique and you are still very different in and of yourself because you receive things in different ways and pick up things in different ways. Connor also mentioned, there's different generations. There's also different backgrounds. So I would love to hear, Carolina, in addition to kind of what people, how can we help understand evaluators better? What are some of the unique differences too, or how do you take that in, or how do you understand it?
Yes, we are unique. I mean, the time of birth gives us our uniqueness, definitely. I still think that we learn from each other right now. We are in this group together for a year, 5 of us. And I can see differences between us. So not every evaluator is the same, that's for sure. However, I would like to, I agree what Emma said. And when we talked last time in our meeting, it is important to mention, I think, for evaluator to know if he or she is evaluator. So they know that they are evaluators, because people when are evaluators, but they don't know about it, they might be really very confused. And I'm still 14 years into my experiment and still learning about myself. So I think it's a ongoing process about learning about oneself and how you are in a relation to other people, to different environments. And it's also like Brett and Emma said, that if we have right environment, we can shine. And it means that people know themselves and they act according to their authority and strategy. And if we are in a wrong environment, I think I'm learning this from Brad. I know I need to move on and find something else, and to trust in our design that we will find the right environment sooner or later, and we will, in a way, do our job as evaluator. I think it takes time and trust to allow things to happen. Yeah. This is how I see it.
Do you find, I'm just curious, just a question that popped into my own mind is and this is again open for all of you as we continue on. But Connor had mentioned, the different generations, and I think that there is a part of wisdom that, in a sense, there kind of there's the struggle and the hard times when you're young and not realizing who you are, so that so that you can, in a sense, be able to reflect that back as you start to gain wisdom over time. I don't know if that question makes sense, but that wisdom is a process that happens over time that you kind of mentioned there.
Definitely. That's why it's so important for evaluator to know as soon as possible that he or she as evaluator is different and it's unique, because then he or she will get confused. Like Emma said, she was blamed that she was the most emotional in her own family, where in fact it was not her. So for a child, it must be extremely confusing. And later, when you know your strategy and you know that you are different, it takes time to decondition yourself. And then again, it takes another time to learn more about yourself and how your body reacts, because you need to let go all the false information from your body as well and from the environment. So it takes a lot of time, patience, and trust that, the older you are, more wisdom you have. And I do really appreciate that I have Brad and Connor and that I can learn from their wisdom. That means a lot for me. That's for sure.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Carolina.
You're welcome.
And Tina.
Yeah. Hi. So I just back to that questions.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah, if whatever is there for you to share with, I know we have kind of a lot of questions floating out there, but whatever
Yeah.
feels most most relevant to share with all of that.
Sure, no problem. And from my perspective, this word is wonderful and various. So it shows me a lot of things like friendly and evil, greedy and kind at the same time. People are always not satisfied, and I found out they feel angry easily, and they want to do more, make more, and wants more, do more, and make more in this material world. So I can see people very confused, like I used to be. So the mind controls us for what we have to do, and we need. That's ridiculous for me at the moment, because the world is still like that. And for me, because I have two kids, so I can totally see a very difference from adults and the kids. They see the world is very different. I have a son is in innovator, and another is the builder. They can show the true they are, and I think that's beautiful traits for their personality, and that's how I can see the adult is conditioned by the words a lot. So just agree with Emma. Please be who you are and get to know who you are. That's really important. And for us, because if people are like stay in the beautiful environment, we will feel very comfortable about that. And to be honest, I think we are very weird to be understood. Even though I have to discover myself, I still like learning the process right now. So I just want to share to others, like let us have our own tempo and our own space. And for evaluators, get to be alone is very important. So yeah, probably we change a lot, and people can try to let go of us, like that them be themselves, and let us be ourselves. Thank you.
Beautifully said. And I think, you know, what you said about the environment too, like needing that need to be able to spend time by yourself and alone. You know, and several of you mentioned that, and Connor, you know, does a lot in the wilderness and the environment. And I think also it's really helpful when we're talking about environment for evaluators to spend time in nature. To spend some time alone to kind of help decondition and get away from all of the energy of everyone else. So allowing that time to be by yourself, but also allowing that time to be able to connect with nature as well. Very beautiful.